Welcome to Beyond Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Petralis, man, and we are super excited for today's guest. I've been trying to get this for a little bit, and our schedules are just busy with two really busy people. And so being able to get a moment to sit down and chat with one another, we finally figured it out. So I'm really excited to have this guest on. I think there's a lot of range we're going to talk about today. And basically just kind of like a great influence, someone who's, works with kids, high school coach, was an athlete himself, played at the college level, works with youth now and is involved in music and just doing a lot of great things. So we're super excited to chat with him today. So I'll say since the Sandbox podcast, a big podcast that I listen to get all my fantasy football updated as well. So I don't want to forget that either. So without further ado, guys, Kev Sinatra.
Yeah, what's going on, man? And like you said, this has been a long time coming. We've been trying to set it up, and now we're here, and I'm excited.
Yeah,
You know,
man, I think it's
on beyond.
yeah, dude. I've come on your guys' show, and I gave some bold predictions that just busted like big time. Uh
Don't worry, I kind of do the same thing if you haven't noticed. So
yeah, I was like, oh, I
live
think
by it
one
and
of
die by
them
it.
you got to, and I know you're a big Buffalo guy, you're a big Bills
Oh yeah,
guy, so
yeah.
I definitely felt for you after your playoff loss, and I think I might have even like sent like a life raft out there for you in my
Yeah, I
in
think
my
you might have. I
story.
think you might have. I had a couple distant relatives coming knocking on my door, making sure I was all right and things like that. So I'm all good now, people. I'm all good.
I mean, do you consider yourself like hardcore Bills Mafia type dude? Like, do you consider yourself that?
Like it's tough because obviously I did grow up a Pats fan, you know what I mean? But it was just I've always loved Josh Allen. Even in college, I loved him, and I don't really follow college football like that, but he's one of
Yeah.
those people I actually did follow. So I just loved him coming up, and then when Brady left, and I know it kind of sounds like a fake thing to say, but it really was just like I needed some change. You know what I mean? I was going through a rough point in my life. I was like, I need something. I need something. So Josh Allen got drafted, and he's my favorite player, so now I just rock with him. You know what I mean? And I've always been more of like a favorite player than team guy. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
obviously I love my Celtics and I love my Red Sox, but in the NBA I also have teams I root for because my favorite player is on that team. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was kind of just like a 2-in-1 situation. Brady left. Josh Allen went to Buffalo, or already at Buffalo, but I started slowly becoming a fan towards the end of the Brady days when Josh Allen first came in the league. So
Yeah. No, it's funny, man. One of my good high school buddies I played football with, he played football at Norwich. Family, father played at Wyoming, like family went to school in Wyoming, his sister went, like they go to games out there, and they were talking Josh Allen for a while around
yeah.
here, and they would always go out to, I don't know if it was like the homecoming, but like the whole family, they still go out there, and all they talked about was like Josh Allen, Josh Allen, Josh Allen, and he's in the NFL today, and they still talk about him. So I get it, like I've known about him, I've heard about him for such a long time just through that family. So
Yeah.
yeah, I get that, man. So, I said at the top, and you're involved in a lot of different things, and some
Mhm.
of the things we're going to kind of talk about, we're going to be collaborating together a little bit, and helping each other out. So it'll be a lot of
Yeah.
fun. But first, I mentioned you're in the coaching world. I know you were an athlete
Mhm.
yourself, and I want to give you your due. I know you were a dominant baseball pitcher from the research that I've done. I know you played at the college level as well, locally, and did very well there as well. So I know athletics is in your blood, and you're involved
Mhm.
in your hometown hoops team, and you're involved with your hometown baseball team. So talk about the world of coaching for you, how sports had an influence on you, and maybe has even led you to the direction that you're currently in your life as a result of it.
Yeah, I won't dive into too much detail on the old stuff, but like you said, I was a three-sport athlete in high school, basketball, baseball, football. Um, was captain of all three, all conference and all three, all those type of things. And then I
No
went
big
on.
deal. No big deal. No big
Yeah,
deal.
I mean, I'm not, yeah, like I said, I'm not gonna get into too much detail because we're talking about coaching here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? This
Yeah.
isn't about me. I've had my
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. But it's good. You
But
got to
then
get your due. You got to
yeah,
get your
yeah.
due.
But then, like you said, I went and pitched for 4 years as a starting pitcher at Suffolk. Won a few conference championships, a few NCAA tournament games, and things like that. So it was a really cool experience. It was Division III, but I mean, for anyone that knows college sports, a lot of the times Division III talent is just as good as D1 talent. You know what I mean, and vice versa. So I played against some studs when I was at Suffolk, from UMass Boston, from Endicott, from Salve Regina, they were just always packed with, heavy hitters, and I was a pitcher, so they were always kind of like my rival. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, and then that was fun, and then I graduated from there, and like you said, I came back home. Not that I really ever left because I just lived in downtown Boston for a couple of years when I was in school, but came back home. Now I'm coaching basketball and baseball up at East Boston High, and I'm loving it. Boys hoops just got over. We had a great season, and we've just been getting better and better every year, and we have a very young team. So definitely within the next year or two, I expect a lot of success coming out of the state tournament.
Yeah, and I know you guys, I think, ran into just a train in St. Mary's who,
Yeah.
I know I've coached against in football, coaching at Arlington Catholic. They're in our conference, so
Mhm.
I just know how they are in sports. They're very good. They're very deep, and they just got
Yeah.
talent. And it's a
Yeah.
very difficult school to play. So,
Yeah.
that's great to hear, and the future's bright. Obviously, baseball's popping soon. Spring
Mhm.
training, everything else, and how's that looking? How's the squad? I know you guys had a lot of success last year. I think you make the Boston City League championship last year?
Yeah, so last year we actually won the Boston
You
City League
won it. Okay,
championship. Yeah,
okay.
first team to win it since like the 1980s.
Wow.
So it was a pretty big deal locally within East Boston and the Boston High community. So that was great. We did graduate a few key guys, but the core or I would say about 75% of the core is coming back. So hopefully we make a run, but I also know that a lot of the schools around the city have been, getting talent in by boatloads. So I know the City League is going to be very competitive this year. It's not going to be, an easy road. Not that it was last year, but it's going to be definitely harder this year. We ran into some teams with injuries last year, some teams that, had eligibility problems, things like that. So, it wasn't the easiest road, but it also wasn't the toughest. So this year is going to be a really good test. But with the guys we have, I'm confident that, we can at least make a run for the city championship again, and hopefully another, run in the states. We haven't actually won a state tournament game in East Boston High for a while now. So even just to win one or two would be a step in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And just kind of listening to that. I mean, obviously City Pride, and I've had a lot of kids that have transferred and played for me from, different areas of Boston that talk about City League Championship and how important that is and how big
Yeah.
of a deal that is. And so understanding and hearing that. Now for you, do you work with a lot of pitchers? Are you like a pitching coach, would you say more, or are you kind of more well-rounded as far as baseball goes? Like your specialty, what's your thing?
Yeah, I mean, obviously being a pitcher my whole life, I do tend to work with pitchers more, and that was my title at East Boston High, is my title at East Boston High. But um I also consider myself like well rounded, you know what I mean? The only thing I would never coach is hitting. I could never hit, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
don't let me teach your kids how to hit because they'll be like a career 180 hitter. But pitching and especially pitching and outfield are my two biggest things. And then when I got to college, actually, I started learning a lot about like catchers and different catching drills and stuff like that, just because the pitchers and the catchers work so closely in college. So now I'm able to like implement some of that stuff for the catchers at EC High too. So I would say pretty much everything, but you know, hitting. You
So
know,
more defensively, are you,
yeah.
as far as like how to play teams as a pitcher, maybe where guys in the outfield or even the infield are lining up
Hmm.
or cheating towards, and
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I guess understanding the field from that perspective as a pitcher. I mean, I guess you are the quarterback in the sense of where everyone's positioned a little bit on the field. So
Yeah, and I know my first year coaching at East Boston High, and this was something that we did in college. So it was just something I was used to, but we actually implemented the pitching coach calling the pitches. Um, we just had a very young catcher. He was good, just unexperienced. Didn't really know how to call a game yet. He just didn't have that experience. So, obviously, being a pitcher in college and stuff, I know what to throw to a high school kid and when and where to position guys. So I was calling pitches. But then last year we got this very good catcher who transferred in. Probably one of the best high school catchers I've ever seen with my two eyes, honestly. And he knew how to call pitches and knew how to call games. So I kind of took a little step back with that last year, just because I want the pitchers to have the freedom to throw what they want. You know what I mean? And I want to have the faith in my catcher that he can call the right thing. But especially like even like plays and stuff, like first and third place, things like that. Like that's just stuff I've learned throughout my experience playing, like in college and men's leagues and even like semi-pro, like things like that. It's just stuff I I listened to and picked up on. So now I'm able to implement it at least at the high school level for now.
No, that's great. And I mean, obviously, just even small drills like catching drills, right? I mean, that's the difference
Mhm.
between a pass ball happening and not happening, or
Exactly.
the catcher making a good throw or making a good read on
Mhm.
something or having a good jump on it. So yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think those young, fresh, different drills that come in, make kids work at positions a little bit differently, a little bit harder,
Mhm.
arguably. I mean, I don't know the baseball world as well as the football world, but I think when you come in with fresh things and good ideas and how those things translate into motion of the game, I think, you get these kids sold into understanding, how to learn differently or how to play differently.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's cool for you because obviously you're involved in the high school and,
Mhm.
doing a podcast. I mean, these kids must listen to your fantasy news. I'm sure they give it to you in a good way and they give it to you when you mess up or like say something. I've seen a lot of people poke fun of you on your page, all in good love. And I think it's great. I think, listen, sometimes you got to take on the villain role, and the
Yeah.
villain role is a good role because you're always going and you're always on the mic and you got a great personality with it. But, talk about, I mean, I guess, do you look at what you do, and we'll get into the music stuff in a minute, but
Yeah.
do you consider what you do with your buddies, your close friends, kids that you went to East Boston High with, had that experience with,
Mhm.
them seeing you doing something like that? Do you get a little bit more street cred among them? Is it cool? Do you feel like you're a good influence? I mean, talk about that for you, that aspect of it.
I mean, yeah, it's really that's a loaded question.
Yeah,
But
I mean, it
yeah, I
is. It
mean,
is. So answer however you want
yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever
So
you want.
like I would say, do I consider myself an influence? No. Am I trying to be an influence? Maybe, but I'm more of just doing what I want to do, and I'm hoping that people seeing me do that is the influence, and
Well,
not
that's
not
it, right?
necessarily me. You know what I mean? But even to dive like a little deeper, and like you said, a bunch of our students watch the podcast. They even bump my music. Like I know, in fall ball for basketball, we were over in a fall league at St. Mary's, and the coaches would drive the kids over, so my car would always be 4 or 5 high school kids, and they'd be like, "Yo, Mister, like play that jam you made or something like that, you know what I mean? And we'd be
Yeah.
bumping in my car. So like
That's
they
cool.
support
Like,
it, you
that's
know what I mean? And
cool.
and they support it, and whether they support it because, they're trying to make jokes, or they're supporting it because they actually like it, or just supporting it because they know me and they're trying to, either way, it's like I'm doing it for me and no one else. But the fact that, I do get that recognition from them, it's definitely like funny, and it's kind of like full circle because like I had people like that in my life when I was in high school, like local. I don't even want to say local rappers, like local artists, local athletes, like just guys that I looked up to in the community that were kind of just beating to the beat of their own drum. You know what I mean? Dancing to the beat of their own drum. So
Yeah.
that's really
No.
what I'm trying to be, because I want to show kids like, yeah, you can go to college and you can do all this stuff, and then you can still do what you want to do. You know what I mean? Like no one can tell you that you can't. And music's something that I've always been very passionate about. I've sang since I was little. I've just never done it really like publicly or like even seriously. Like it was always just in the shower or at like family birthdays or things like that. Like it was never anything like I would go up and perform or write songs or anything. But like I said, once I graduated college and I didn't have such a workload on me as far as like schedule with practice and homework and test and school and all that stuff, I just found more free time, and I found myself filling my free time with the singing, and then from singing I got to writing, and then from writing I went to actually go into a real studio and recording some stuff with a real engineer and real equipment, and yeah, that's kind of how that came about.
So talk about that because I always joke with people, and I mean this when I do. Like, I wish I knew how to play the piano. I wish
Mhm.
I knew how to play the guitar. I wish like I like studied music and understood like why beat like sounds and and beats, and like I wish I knew more
I know.
about that. And
Yeah.
I think that stuff's really cool. So for you, you said like I found interesting that a lot of people didn't know you were into music. I mean,
Yeah.
someone who's active, who's obviously athletic in high school, you're a three-sport athlete, so
Mhm.
you're pretty active year round. I guess, how do you hide something like that? But how do you also then also work at it and get better at it and do that, I guess, secretly? I mean, that's kind of really interesting in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it wasn't even like I never took vocal lessons. It was never anything like serious. Like when I was little, like 7, 8, 9 years old, my mom tried to get me to go to a place called Zoomix here in East Boston. It's kind of like an after school music program, and I was always just like, no, like that's stupid. Like I'm a basketball player and all that, and not to knock music, but at the time I just didn't understand it. You know what I mean? Like I was all like I was sports driven. You know, my uncles were all basketball players. My athletes, my brothers were all athletes. So my route was like the sport route. You know what I mean? And I didn't want to be like, oh, I'm a singer. You know what I mean? Like it was just, and again, not that there's nothing wrong with that because that's what I'm doing now. But at that time, you know what I mean? You just know how kids are and
Right.
how, it's just they just don't understand. So like I said, it was always just something I did in the shower and stuff. And then one day, I literally remember like one day a few years ago, I think it was during the pandemic, was the first time I ever put up a Snapchat of me singing. And a lot
Did
of people
people
like
just
swipe.
go wild? Like,
Yeah,
what?
like a lot of people swiped up and they were like, "Yo, I didn't know you could sing, blah 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 blah." And then all that stuff. And then Uncle Tony, Uncle Tony, obviously, he actually
Yeah.
hit me up and he was like, "Yo, like let's do a song together," because he was obviously making music at the time. He had just released an album and stuff, and he was like, "Yo, like let's get in the studio." He was like, "Record." He's like, "Even if we don't use the song, like just for practice and stuff." And we went in the studio and we made some pretty dope songs together and stuff. So that was really the first route into it, and then you know the writing thing just came naturally because once I started singing and listening to beats and stuff, it was just the lyrics just naturally like started putting themselves together because I write all my own songs and I think most people know that, but maybe not everyone does. But yeah, every song that I've ever recorded or made, obviously besides the covers I do on like Instagram and stuff, but the music I've actually published and released is all written by me.
So that's amazing. So you write all your own music. I mean, dude,
Yeah.
how do you balance that all? And then obviously I know us just chatting, you go to a recording studio, I think you said in Roxbury. So
Mhm.
um you've kind of released some songs. I know you've released a few songs recently in the past, like,
Yeah.
I think like 6 to 8 months, you've released a few
Yeah.
tracks. So talk about your process, I guess, a little bit. You write a song to when you release a song. I mean, what is your walkthrough process from start to finish, I guess, a little bit?
Yeah, so just to get like a little background of it, I right now have 4 songs released, four
Okay.
singles, and then I have 2 more on the way. But just to get into that, yeah, it's kind of just, I have an app, I have all these websites and producers that I email and stuff like that I just get beats from, whether I buy them or get them sent to me for free, whatever. And I just listen to beats on beats on beats. And a lot of people know I live in Wakefield now and I still work in East Boston. So my morning commute is like 30, sometimes 40, 45 minutes. So instead of listening to everyone else's music and what other people are making, and again, I love music and I love listening to music, but I started just listening to beats on the way to work, on the way home to work, whenever I was in my car. You know what I mean? Because I just started that way because when I was home, I just wanted to be home and watching TV and things like that. So that's really how I started just listening to beats, and then I would like drive to them, like drive home with the beat on and just like start thinking of stuff. And like I would like just pull different avenues from like different artists that I listen to. Like, you know what I mean? Like I would
Yeah.
listen to one beat and be like, oh, like this might be like a Justin Bieber type beat. So I need to write like a Justin Bieber type song. You know what I mean? And things like that. And I listen to so many artists and so many genres that I just like pull from different avenues. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, no, I've listened to all your songs. I mean, that's kind of like when you were like releasing your first couple songs, I was like
Mm-hmm.
putting it on my story just because, I knew you were into music and kind of seeing you and what you post and then seeing that you were kind of releasing the songs. We wanted to show you the love here for sure. But I joke there's like people that I work with that we was kind of talking about this before we hit
Mm-hmm.
the record button here. But your single Hit My Line is definitely super catchy. I found myself singing it. I know people that I work with, they love it too. Like, so I want you to know you definitely have a few fans
And
in the Medford public school system that listen to your
yeah,
songs a little
and
bit.
that actually makes me laugh too because Hit My Line's my favorite song that I've come out with so far.
I think it's
No,
great. I think it's
it
your
is.
best
It's
song
my favorite
personally
song.
too. Not that I
I
know
actually
anything,
think
but
it's the first song I wrote, to be honest. Besides the me and Uncle Tony have an unreleased song that we just never released, but besides that, Hit My Line was actually the first song I ever wrote. But it's funny because no one, like all my friends and all that, and obviously they like all my music, but none of them say Hit My Line. Like I'm the only one. So I was always
yeah.
like, maybe it's just because like I'm too close to the song or like something like that. But so to hear
No,
them say that
man.
that specific song like makes me laugh.
Yeah, I think it's great. I won't name the other people's name because I don't have
Yeah,
their
yeah, no
permission,
worries,
but
man.
like they're big fans of it, and we always joke and like
I
always
love
put
that.
it on or like in whatever. So I was saying when I was having you on, like one of the masters, I was like, actually, yeah, you know who I'm having on tonight? The dude who sings "Hit My Line," and they started dying laughing. So
Yeah.
I think yeah, if I pick one of your favorite songs, it's that. It's like very catchy,
Mhm.
like good beat, yeah, and it's just like the lyrics are just like, yeah, I think you do a great job. I'll be
Yeah,
super honest with you.
and that like hit my line theme type of song is what the I have an EP coming out in the spring. So for those of you that didn't know, now you know. I'll be dropping an announcement soon on Instagram officially, but I do have an EP coming out in late spring, early summer, around like Memorial Day, early June. And it's gonna be very much like hit my line themed, like very upbeat, very like summery, very just like you know what I mean, nostalgic. Listen to it in the backyard while you're hanging with your friends type of music. You know what I mean? Because that's really the music that I enjoy the most when I'm listening to music, or even like the music I like to make. So gonna just stick to that vibe, come out with like a 5, 6 song project. You know what I mean? Have people bump it all summer, and then probably in the fall or early winter, I'll drop my first actual, full album.
What like what's your genre that you consider yourself? Because like I would say like a rapper, like, but then I
Yeah.
listen to Hit My Line, I'm like, well, I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
So like where do you fall, I guess,
yeah.
if I have to ask?
No, I honestly had a funny question that you're gonna ask me this. And I actually talk about this with my girlfriend all the time, but I really don't consider myself like any specific genre. Like I really do just consider myself an artist, and that's why even in like my Instagram bio, I just put artist. I don't put like rapper or singer or anything like that because I listen to all types of music. I'm influenced by all types of music. So if I want to one day just drop a country song, I'm gonna just one day drop a country song. You know what I mean? And no one will bat an eye because it's not like this rapper dropping a country song. So I really do want to kind of keep that, which is why I'm trying to go back to that vibe for my EP, just so people can see like, oh, he's not a rapper. And not that there's anything wrong with being a rapper. It's just like I don't. That's not how I classify myself. I don't think that's the type of music that like I'm thinking in my head when I'm thinking of writing, but that's just the type of music that ends up going together. So I'm just riding the wave for now, and if right now it's rap or hip hop, and then next year I come out with an EDM album or a country album or a power ballad album or whatever. You know what I mean? I don't ever want to be like typecasted as like one specific genre. You know what I mean? Unless there's one day where I wake up and I'm like, all right, this is. But right now, I'm just like still exploring so much with like music and stuff that I don't want to put myself in like a cage too early because you can make it in the music industry many different avenues for whatever genre you're in. So if I stay kind of like neutral and just keep dropping songs that are like a little bit of everything, then one day one of them hopefully will catch, and that's when I'll kind of figure that out down the
So
road.
interesting, dude, just listening,
Yeah.
like, and I go back to what I was saying before, like, dude, you gotta be the man amongst the players you coach. Just like if I was listening, this was my coach, I'd be like, dude, my coach is
Yeah.
the man, like,
Yeah.
and so I just like that's I've coached and I've taught and I run programs, like that's my
Mhm.
life, like that's what I do, like so I get it when I see like I know that's like what kids look at you, and that's cool, man. It's great to
Yeah.
for you to be so balanced and so well rounded with that. A question that I have that I think is cool, and
All right.
it's more of a laughing question than
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
How cool is it? I mean, I get your vibe. Like, I get your vibe. Like, I like the shades. I like the hat. It gives me the Fresh
Uh-huh.
Prince vibe. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and I like that. Talk about how cool it is that if you typed your name on Instagram Music, you could put your song on an Instagram story
Haha.
for you to like play. Like, is that real cool? I mean, I think that's
Yeah,
that's really
yeah, that's
interesting.
actually I've actually done that. Is that why you're asking? Did you know
No,
that I did
I've
that?
actually I actually looked you up once. I go, dude, this his Hit My Line is
Yeah.
on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah. No, so yeah, I think back in the summer I just posted like a story of me like shooting around with my shirt off. I don't know, whatever. I was single at the time, so I was just, whatever.
Doing your thing. I
But
get
but
it.
yeah, I put hit my line up as like the music on the story, and I was just like, whoa, like that's when it like not that it felt real because it's not like I'm making money or anything like that, but it was just like wow, like I actually am like a published like artist. Like anyone in the world can like type me in on Instagram and boom, my song comes up. You know what I mean? Not that people will type me in, but they can, and that's just like a cool thing to
They
know.
can, right? At the end of the day,
Because
they
even I didn't know
can.
that. Like I like that was still early on, so I didn't like grasp like the once it's released on like Apple Music, it automatically goes to like Instagram or whatever. So like when I saw that, I was like, whoa. I was like, that's sick.
Yeah, I think I even tagged you and I put it in my story and like
Yeah, I think
tagged
you
you and it
did.
being
Yeah,
like, how
yeah,
cool is that? Like
yeah,
because I do, I think that that stuff's real cool. And
yeah.
I before I even knew that aspect of you, obviously I listened to you guys' podcast. So, for me, it was like kind of hearing what you guys did, like hometown buddies. I have my group of guys that I'm super close with to
Mhm.
this day. So I get that and I understand that. And you guys have kind of really like evolved the show. You got more people involved, more personalities, funny like tidbits and takes, and
Yeah,
you seem to be getting a lot of people on there as well. So it's cool
mhm,
to see you as a personality a little bit on there, and then
yeah,
obviously the music and coaching aspect is things that we're interesting in or interested in. So I'm kind of going to put you on the spot here a little bit, hopefully
all
not
right.
too much. A couple weeks back, or maybe it was like last week, you posted you singing a cappella a little bit, and I
Yeah,
thought it
yeah,
was
yeah.
great. And I put it on my story, and when we talk about the type of artist that you are, and you kind of don't label that, hearing you do that a cappella, maybe that's what made me kind of be like, I wonder what he categorizes himself as. So
Yeah.
that's where that question kind of came from. But if I gave you a song to sing, you go a cappella right now on the podcast, boom, we knocked this out of the park. You'd say,
I'd say let's do it.
all right, cool, cool. All right, so I'm putting you on the spot.
All right.
This
Let me
is
drink some
awesome.
water. I'm gonna
You're gonna
loosen
become
the throat up. But go
Instagram
ahead,
famous
keep
all
going.
night. Overnight sensation right here. Thank me later.
Hopefully,
No,
everyone
you'll
tune
be
in.
great. You'll be great. So, what's the music selection here?
Whatever you tell me.
I'll let you pick. I want to let you pick.
All right. I think I'm gonna do. It's funny because I knew I knew that this acapella thing was gonna come up, and I was trying to think of songs in my head that I wanted to do, and I thought of quite a few, but I think I ended up deciding to go with Tennessee Whiskey by Chris Stapleton,
I
which
love it.
a few people have asked me. Good friend of mine, Jonathan Tosto. I'll make sure to tag him in this, but he slid up to my Instagram or Snapchat story a while back and was like, "Dude, Tennessee Whiskey," and I never did it, or at least I never posted it. So, but yeah, I'll do that.
All
All
right,
right.
man. This is great. I think you got some talent. I do. I want to show it off to our audience, let people know a little bit who Kev Sinatra is and why I think he's a really interesting artist that is starting out for sure.
Take the glasses off, get nice and loose there. All
Okay,
right.
the glasses are off. So this is business.
Yeah.
Hats readjusted for those
Yeah.
that aren't watching this and listening.
Yeah. All right.
This East Boston gear on right now is
Here
swag.
we
So
go. Mike's good. All set.
Mike's great. Mike's great.
All right. Used to spend my nights out in a ballroom. Liquor was the only love I know. Girl, you rescued me from reaching for the bottle and brought me back from being too far gone. You're as smooth as Tennessee whiskey. You're as sweet as strawberry wine. You're as warm as a glass of brandy. And honey, I stay stoned on your love all the time. Boom. Just like
Bro,
that. Something
what?
light, you know what
Like
I mean?
what, dude?
Something light. Something light.
What?
Yeah. Mhm. And that's what I'm saying though. Like that's things like this is why I don't want to be classified as just one genre. Because who would have thought that I would be singing Tennessee Whiskey by Chris Stapleton?
Not what I thought you would pick, if I'm being totally
Exactly.
honest. Not what I
Yeah.
thought you would pick at
Yeah. And
all.
shout out to my girlfriend for that one because she helped me pick it. I was debating like 4 or 5 songs to pick, and she loves Tennessee Whiskey. So she was like, just do it. you
So
know?
where do you okay, so let me ask you this just out of
Yeah, yeah.
like music for me, and I've said this on a few episodes of my podcast, like my stories and my reels, like I am very specific about music. Like I do research music. I look at a lot of instrumentals,
Mhm.
a lot of lyrics, listen to like what people are saying or what things mean. To me, that's
Yeah.
so important when you can get it on the right clip or you're trying to put the right message out there, or you catch a really cool play and you try to find that right like sound clip reel. Like music
Yeah, yeah.
is key to people paying attention to things more and being drawn in. What
Oh, yeah.
type of music draws you in as an artist? Like, I would have never expected that,
Yeah.
truthfully. So, I guess what is the different types of music? What artists do you listen to that maybe people would even realize that you do listen to?
Yeah, I mean, that's I could spend a whole nother episode talking about all this, but like I said, I have my variety of music has no boundary. Like my parents grew up, I was listening to Frank Sinatra, I was listening to Bob Dylan, I was listening to the Beatles, and then like my brothers were listening to DMX and Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, and then my other brother was listening to soft rock like My Chemical Romance, and you know what I mean, and my mom liked country, like old school, like Kenny Rogers type of music. You know what I mean? So and we all grew up in a three bedroom apartment, seven of us. You know what I mean? So it was just I was just constantly hearing different music, and I was like, whoa, whoa,
Yeah,
whoa. And every time I would hear like a song, I'd be like, whoa, like this is kind of cool. Like you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I was singing Kenny Rogers in the shower. The next night I was singing I'll Be Missing You by Puff Daddy and Faith Evans in the shower. You know what I mean? So it's just
right.
it really just comes from that and even now it's just like no specific thing. It really is just like I look for a lot of melody and like melodic beats and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Just because I feel like those are the type of beats you can really go anywhere with. You know what I mean? Like the poppy, like you can make it pop country, you can make it more like rap. You can make it hip hop or dance or whatever. So I look for those type of beats just because they bring more like versatility. So I try to stay away from like the hardcore like one genre beat, like whether it's pop or rap or rock or whatever. So I try to find like more neutral beats that I can kind of like. And a lot of the times that's what happens is I'll write like three or four different choruses to a beat. You know what I mean? And it's a chorus that would bring the song a whole different direction. And then I like just keep like singing them to myself or singing them in my head, and I'm like, oh, like this is the one that fits. And I've used like choruses that I wrote for one song for like a chorus of a different song, and it just fits. You know what I mean? So it's so interesting to see like how that works out. But I think that's because of the type of beats that I pick. You
so
know?
you find your music to be pretty similar in that sense, like your music connects from beat to beat because you're kind of delivering the same message. Is that what you
Exactly.
would
Yeah.
say?
And my goal, and I was, I was talking about this with my girlfriend too, but I would like to drop an album one day. I got a couple projects I want to drop before, but I do want to drop an album one day that's just like 10 songs, one song from like every single genre. You know what I mean?
No.
And call it like the mixtape, Mixed, because it's like all mixed music. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's a little sneak peek into what I'm thinking later in the future, but we'll cross that road when we get there. But no, I
Very
think that
like
would be really
very
cool. Like no
Drake-esque.
one's, yeah, like no one's ever done that. You know what I mean? Like I'll
Yeah,
start off with like a hit my line type of song, and then with like a Keith Urban country type of song.
yeah.
But I'll make sure the flow is goes the right direction. That like boom, you just can listen to the album in order, and boom,
Yeah.
that's it.
That's interesting. I mean, that is
Yeah,
probably not been attempted at all if
yeah,
or by very few. So that would be
yeah,
that'd be a different concept of a record to pitch. I mean, that is really interesting, actually. You might be
yeah,
onto something there a little
yeah.
bit. So you
Yeah.
heard it here first, guys.
Yeah,
Just
I think I'm gonna
throwing that out
copyright
there.
that, so don't even try it.
Yeah, I'm not, but I'm just gonna if that blew up, I'd be like, well, it was said here first. Like,
Yeah.
are you like that person who gets famous, like you sign like a dollar bill and you hang it up on the wall, like at those old school cafes or whatever, and like you had that person's signature if they were famous. That's it for me right here. Like this is my
Oh
signature.
yeah. Oh yeah. Love that.
Um, what are your plans got you going on with music right now? As far as, I mean, obviously I know you said you got a few songs that you still got to release.
Yeah.
Do you do any like shows? You kind of perform anywhere? Are you kind of getting to that point? I mean, what are your next steps maybe as far as your music goes of what you do have put together?
Yeah, yeah. So I haven't really done any shows, honestly, no shows. But it's mostly just been studio work, posting reels on Instagram and Snapchat and things like that. But yeah, it's really mostly just like actual music that I'm releasing that I recorded in the studio, like with just me and my engineer, or like social media stuff. I've never really done any like live shows or anything like that. I'm hoping to soon, hopefully,
Yeah.
if I can get a little bit more buzz around my name and people start finding out who I am. I would love to do a couple live shows, even if they're at dive bars, whatever, you know what I mean? And I my girlfriend threw the idea to me too to do open mic nights too. She was looking up places the other night around like the Boston and North Shore area that do open mic nights. So that's another thing I could do too. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I know all that will come in due time, you know.
Yeah. So just trusting the process a little bit and just
Yeah,
kind of
just trust the
enjoying it.
process. And like I'm not really in a rush to do any shows just because like I still don't have a fan base like that. You know what I mean? Obviously some people listen to me around, the Boston area, but
Got a few in
like
Medford. I mean, I'll tell you that right
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah. And it would be a cool experience though, but I'm not like in a rush. Like I'm not like, oh, I need to do, but like if someone asked me, I'd be like, yeah, of course I'll do the show. Like I
Yeah,
love that. But
that's
like I'm
cool.
saying, just trusting the process and not trying to like rush anything, you know?
Yeah. No, and I think that's a good way of looking at it. And obviously, you're kind of figuring out your thing and what you want to do. Is music a direction that you would look to go? Like, is that something that you would want to be your full time, all in type thing? Or right now, you like you said, are you just kind of seeing what field or what you want to do as far as whether it's coaching or being in education and so on
Hmm.
and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely love coaching and being a teacher or becoming in the process of becoming a teacher, but music is the goal. I mean, I feel like if you ask anyone that, they would say like a similar thing, you know what I mean? And I'm not
Right.
saying the goal is attainable. I'm not saying I'll reach that goal, but that is the goal. And that's why I kind of started doing all this stuff because I was just 2 years out of college. I was already sick of working a regular job, even at a
Right.
school. You know what I mean? Like just like
Yeah.
and again, I love doing that, but it's just I'd rather be a musician. You know what I mean? And I feel like I have the talent, and I'm finally starting to put some of the pieces together and really like find out my sound and like different ideas of what I want to do and what I don't want to do and things like that. So that is the goal for now, and I'll just keep doing what I'm doing until better opportunities come along for music. But for now, I'm just like I'm loving it. Honestly, I'm loving the process. I'm having fun, and I really just like a really cool experience.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to go hard on it either, man. Having a vision and having a dream is
Yeah.
that. I mean, listen, I'm turning 40 years old next month. I started this 2 years ago. I knew there was something that was missing out there for this of
Hmm.
covering local high school sports and putting the content and the fun stuff that we're putting together. I kind of following it and pursuing the
Hmm.
dream. So
Yeah.
don't let other people steer you otherwise, man. If this is what you want to do and this is what you want to make it
Yeah.
become, like you're gonna work and figure that out, and a lot of other people can't steer you in other
Yeah.
direction.
And I will say, I think being a teacher has helped me a lot with the music because, for one, the schedule, right? I had so much time,
Right.
even with the coaching. You know what I mean? We're just with summers off and vacations off and weekends off and things like that. And yeah, you may not necessarily have it off if you're coaching or whatever, but you know what I mean. Just not having a high demanding hourly job. That really helped because, like I said, I was able to get in the studio. I was able to just like focus more time on like listening to music and listening to beats and things like that. So that's actually been a blessing in disguise, and that's the plan going forward. Just be a teacher, have that to pay the bills and kind of live on until the music thing blows up. But that's honestly really, I feel like the teaching goes hand in hand with the music because of that, because I have the time in my schedule to do the music. You know what I mean? And it's not interrupting my job, and my job isn't really interrupting the music. But yeah, the goal would obviously, I want to open my own record label one day, Sinatra Records. Um,
It's a perfect name. I mean, it's a
yeah.
perfect
Well,
name.
that's another thing too that I've been talking to about with people about recently because like I was never obviously my artist name is Young Sinatra, yeah, but that's just because it's my name. But I've never been like, oh, I'm Frank Sinatra's blah 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 because I am related to Frank Sinatra. It's very distant, but I am
Okay.
actually yeah, I am bloodline with Frank Sinatra. So
So yeah, I mean, if
um,
that's real, I mean, I don't care how deep
well, that's what
that
I'm
far
saying. So
that
now
goes. It's
people are like,
real.
yeah, people are just like screw it, bro. Like use the name, like you have the name, like you know what I
Right.
mean, like
Right.
not everyone's born with the last name Sinatra, so I should at least try to use that to my advantage when I can and not go overboard with it. But like you said, Sinatra Records perfect because people that's just a name in music. You know what I mean? That doesn't
Right.
necessarily relevate directly to me.
It's like Sinatra's the name of
Yeah.
music, like Oscar Mayer is the name in hot dogs. Like
Right,
it, you know what
exactly,
I
exactly,
mean? Like it's just the
exactly.
name, you know?
Yeah,
So, no, absolutely. And
yeah,
that's great, dude. I pursue it, man. Go for it. I think that's awesome. And I just want to say, like, I appreciate the hustle and grind that you have and that you guys there at Since the Sandbox have. And I've been showing you guys love for a bit because I think what you're doing and how you do it and go about conducting yourselves and having fun with
mhm,
it is super important. Obviously, you growing as an artist, releasing more music, figuring things out for yourself. Yeah,
mhm,
dude, put yourself out there. That being my advice to you. Like, I'd throw my stuff out on my Instagram. Like, you see my life, the good, the tough,
mhm,
the bad, the funny. Like, you see it.
yeah,
And I think that it's important for people to see, when I look at your stuff, like, I think your stuff is just like very real. Like, it's not
yeah,
over the top or overboard or too much.
yeah,
It's like music, sports, what you
yeah,
guys cover on the podcast, some of your music, you just
yeah,
vibing away. Like, yeah, it's you. I think that fits you. Just talking to you, your kind of demeanor. I
mhm,
mean, it's
right,
definitely who you are, dude. So, I'm a big fan. Appreciate you, and I appreciate you taking the time
appreciate
and
you.
coming on this today.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So without further ado, guys, we got a huge lineup coming up in April, and we'll be talking about it a little bit more on social media. But our guy Kev Sinatra here, we want this guy to be a really our beyond artist, man. Whenever you do
Yeah,
stuff, we want to hit you up and help you out. And if you're releasing music, let us know so we can throw it on our social media.
mhm,
You and I talked about maybe going down the studio together and showing people a little bit of what you do. And
yeah,
I definitely want to make that work for sure
yeah,
and
definitely.
that opportunity and let people see. So
Get a little behind the scenes action.
I think it's important, man.
That'd be
Listen,
cool.
the
That would be
best
cool.
way for people to see what you're doing, man, is seeing what
Yeah.
you're doing.
See
So
me in
we
my
want to
true
make that.
element.
Yeah. So we're excited for that, man. So we'll be in touch. We'll obviously people will be seeing the stuff we're doing on social
Mhm.
media, so it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's my pleasure to be on. Like I said, this is a long time coming, so I'm glad we finally did it.
Yeah, brother.
And
Absolutely.
we'll be together again soon when we go to the studio and stuff too. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad we finally made this happen.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. We'll be working together real soon. So
Yeah.
Kev Sinatra here, guys. Anthony Petralis. Till next time.